Oh shit, Francis, you know what time it is, don't you?
I feel like we should start telling the people what you do it because people in the green room can hear you. So is
Yes.
it loud on their end? Should we
I,
start? Should you start apologizing ahead of time to them also?
so I'm gonna apologize to our guest ahead of time. I get really loud at the start. And also, we didn't know that people could hear us in the green room originally, so hopefully we didn't talk too much shit about people before we figured that out.
But you do
Well,
your thing. I'm gonna take the earbuds out. I'll be back in about 4 or 5 seconds.
so yeah, sure.
All right.
So you know what time it is? It's time for Spooky Motherfucking Dust Podcast, boy. There we go.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm just really hyped. I'm looking forward to Tuesday. You and I hang out and talk about wrestling anyway, so this is like the highlight of my week, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm happy. You're happy.
I am so excited about this guest. You know, because we've gone to a couple of events and I've been like, friend, dude, this is my dude. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen you, I don't want to say mark out, but I've seen you mark out a few times. None as hard as this guest. And like, not to downplay any of our past guests, right? We get super excited. I was hella nervous and excited to talk to Masada, right? When I did.
Oh, yeah.
Still am, right?
Sure.
You lost your fucking mind the first time we saw this guest wrestle. You were so happy to finally see him live in person.
I was shocked that, because he popped up at a show that we went to, the 2-day event in Fenton, the infamous day in Fenton that we did. And I lost my fucking mind when he came out. I got so crazy hype. It was ridiculous. You know what I mean?
And you did not stop talking about it.
No, I didn't. And then when we saw a couple other shows that he was at, I went specifically to see him there.
And whenever we talk Michigan wrestling with anybody, you bring him up.
I do. So, without further ado, I would like to bring in one of the greatest minds in the wrestling business, the motherfucking zombie princess, Jimmy Jacobs. Jimmy.
Very generous introduction. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate you coming on the show. And, I got to say, too, you're one of the easiest people to book. I asked you if you'd come on, and you didn't brother me at all. You were like, fuck yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? So cool of you, man.
What else am I doing on a Tuesday night? So.
We are all over the place on the show. Very ADD. We start off one place, and we could end up somewhere else, not even talking about wrestling. So I do want to get a bunch of wrestling stuff out of the way, if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
So I would like to bring up, when I first saw you wrestle, it was on the Michigan indie scene, and you were still, I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but you were wearing like the fuzzy boots.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was chanting. They were like, shave your boots. And I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was kind of looking around and being like, what the fuck is happening? You know what I mean? So that would probably put it around 2002, 3, maybe?
Yeah, 2002 is when I started wearing furry boots, and I did that for about 3 years, more or less, 2005, 2006,
Okay.
Yeah.
But recently, so I'm going to zip all over the place, okay? You were in Impact, and you still are in Impact, correct?
Correct, yeah. Looking behind the scenes for the past 5 years, though.
I am an Impact guy. I was a TNA fan from the very first pay-per-view that they did. And if I could be 100% honest, I felt like Impact TNA did me wrong a couple of times. So I took a step back from watching Impact, and I actually quit watching wrestling altogether for a minute. When I started watching again, you were there, and you were managing Congo Kong. And I had seen Congo Kong on the Michigan scene, and I was more than excited to see you there. But you were doing the zombie princess gimmick. And I remember looking over at my wife, and I was like, I think Jimmy Jacobs is like out of his fucking mind right now. Because you were like, and I'm going to do this wrong. You cut a promo, and you're just like, I get whatever I want because I'm a fucking princess. And I was like, he's fucking crazy right now. You know what I mean? So
That's right. I'm a princess. I always get what I want. It's the same.
I popped so big for that. I was like, oh my God. But you're one of the people that brought me back into Impact. I love everything that happens in Impact, and I can't say enough good stuff about it. Some people love AEW. Some people are WWE guys. I feel like I'm always a TNA/Impact guy, and I'm going to be that way for good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, I appreciate it. Look, the TNA brand certainly burned a lot of people, both fans and wrestlers. And so when I came to the company in 2017, it's right when Jeff Jarrett had left and Scott D'Amore took over, and he's bringing in Don Callis. And so a lot of the thought process, 2017, 2018 was just like, hey, we gotta make things right with the fans, with the people in the wrestling business. Just, promote something and deliver it. Just stuff that basic that sometimes, a booker can lose sight of because he's so busy trying to make these different storylines. You go, no, we're gonna have a main event, and it's gonna be the main event, and the two guys are gonna wrestle, and one of them's gonna win. And so I think we built a starter repair, or at least a rapport with our audience, as well as people within the wrestling business. It's no secret that New Japan did not like TNA, right? There's some historic, bad blood there, and we're working with New Japan now. We've worked with AEW. We've got an open relationship, with WWE. We sent Mickie James there, and so we're more or less getting along with everybody, and that's what happens when you have reasonable people at the table.
I mean, and so many awesome names come through. But I mean, you were talking about how you sent Mickie James to WWE. You guys are doing a little bit of business with the NWA. Taya Valkyrie is messing around in XPW. I mean, Impact is, in my opinion, the place to be. Knockouts division, second to none. I've been a women's wrestling fan for a really long time. Francis, I'm sorry, I'm talking like I end up doing this. I know you say it's cool, but I'm just, Jimmy, I'm super excited for this, so I'm trying to be like, trying to play it cool a little bit, but you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to hear all about this for 20 minutes afterwards. Just so you know. He is just super hyped about this.
So zipping around over another thing. Every time we do the podcast, I always end up going for a walk with my wife before this and telling her about the guest. And it's kind of how I go over my notes and everything. So I told her about the Age of the Fall. Am I saying that correctly? Oh, Jimmy, did we lose you?
Good.
Are you still there? Okay, good. Can you hear me? Okay. But we went for a walk, and I was telling her about the Age of the Fall. Are you familiar with what I'm going to refer to?
The Age of the Fall?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get a chance to tell Francis about that at all. But it was when that happened, I was not watching wrestling. I was taking another sabbatical from wrestling. And all of my wrestling friends got a hold of me and they said, "Hey, dude, did you see this? Did you see this?" And I said, "I'm not watching wrestling right now." And I got photos and video and everything. Francis, do you know what we're referring to?
No, tell me.
They hung a motherfucker over the ring, bleeding all over the place. And Jimmy came out wearing a fucking white suit, stood underneath the dude and cut a promo getting bled on. It's totally gnar, dude.
Yeah, it's really one of the craziest things that's probably ever been done in wrestling. At the inception of the Age of the Fall, it was me and Gabe Sapolsky and now Seth Rollins, spitballing for months of how do you do this debut and make it big? What hasn't been done before? And we were thinking of all sorts of things. Like in my mind, do you bring in like an illusionist to do some sort of big trick? And I forget whose idea it was. I think it might have been Gabe's. about hanging Jay Briscoe. We hung him upside down. They had a ladder match with Briscoe's had a ladder match with Steen and Generico. Tremendous match in Chicago. And afterwards, me and Necro Butcher and Seth and Lacey come in there. We jump the Briscoes.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on.
Jay
We got a little clip of it. Look at that. Oh, my God. Under the tag, what's the sickest shit you've ever seen in wrestling? Look at that.
Yeah, that's the hard camera view, too. There you go. Get a close-up. I mean, Jay just hit this gusher, man. Like, he just hit this freaking, I was literally showering in his blood at this point, right? It looks like a horror movie by the end. I don't know why I bothered talking for 5 minutes. I could have just stood there. It would have been the same damn thing.
Your hair is like matted down with blood. That's so awesome.
Oh yeah. Afterwards, by the end, there's like one picture that surfaces online of me afterwards backstage, and it's just like I just showered in the guy's blood. Pretty effective visual for the start of that group.
That was so awesome. My God. But so I obviously describing that to my wife, and she's like, huh. Like she watches a little bit of wrestling, but she's not as enthusiastic about it as I am. So zipping around again, another time that we saw you was when you were at the Deathmatch Circus in Fenton. And I did not expect to see you at that show. And I found out last minute you were going to be there. And as Francis knows, I got extra super hype.
Spikes versus Skewers.
Yeah. But I want to say something about that event because I haven't talked about this in a long time. When we first started doing the podcast, this was a fresh thing in our mind. At that event, the second one of the night, I got splattered with blood and it got in my eye and I freaked the fuck out and had a panic attack and was like, I'm fucking going home. And I went home and fucking was so upset. And I actually went to the doctor and took an AIDS test and all that shit. And like, I mean, you can say people get tested and stuff, but the bottom line is a stranger's fucking blood got in my eye and fucked up my wrestling night. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying, man. It's funny that you were surprised that I was at this deathmatch show because I was surprised too. I had no idea what I was getting into, and I'm not, pointing fingers at the promoter. I'm sure he advertised it online, and I'm not paying attention to anything. So me and my buddy are driving to the show, and we're looking at this address, and like we're just like we're in the middle of nowhere. Like, where is this? And all of a sudden, it's a guy's house.
Yep.
And you go, it's in a backyard, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I knew they used chains for the ropes. That was fine. But then I go backstage, and by backstage I mean like a tarp that's somewhere. And, I just see all these deathmatch toys there, all these contraptions with razor blades sticking out of them, forks sticking out of them, and I go, "Oh, I'm doing a backyard deathmatch show today." And the guy's like, yeah, we promoted it. It's Skewers versus Spike. And I go, well, who's going over? He's like, he is. I'm like, so I'm taking a bunch of Skewers then. Like, that's an option. That's what? And I go, well, all right. If we're gonna do it, we might as well do it. And so, I went headfirst into that. By headfirst, I mean into the Spikes, into the Skewers. Well, the guy was Atticus Cogar.
Yeah.
He goes, look, man, it kind of sucks at first, it just pound them in 3 big pounds and then they're in, then it's fine. I'm like, all right, fine, we'll do this. What else are we doing with our lives? 22 years in the wrestling business, I've gotten myself into this shit. It's like, all right, fine.
Oh.
And so he pounds them into my head, and it kind of sucked. Like it wasn't comfortable. But then for the finish, he gives me that like headlock DDT, Moxie's old finisher, right?
Yeah.
And that table finisher. And I thought my forehead was going to hit the mat, and the Skewers were kind of sort of towards the top of my head. We're going to just whatever. If you watch the fucking video of this, man, my head doesn't hit the ground at all. It's entirely skewers into the
Oh.
ground. Skewers into the ground, skewers deeper into my head. And I'm just like, oh, fuck. And as soon as we land, like I rip them out. I'm like, oh, jeez, what did I just do? Holy crap. So that was a fun show.
You did something that I really love. When you came walking around the ring, I was like, "Zombie Princess," and I don't know if you know that or not, but I was losing my mind because I was just fucking excited as hell to see that. And then when you got the skewers, you literally did it right in front of me. But I noticed, like, for a lot of the indie guys and stuff, when people give it up to the wrestler, they tend to do the big stuff right in front of them. And I was very appreciative of it. I got such awesome photos of it. That made my night, man. It was totally cool, man. So I really appreciate that, whether you remember it or not.
Awesome. Well, I don't, but I mean, obviously wrestling is a symbiotic relationship, and actually
Right.
that's true with all of life. It's like sort of the energy we put out is the energy we attract. So it's not coincidence that when you have a lot of energy in one spot, that there's a reciprocation that shows up in your life, right? You said we couldn't talk about religion, but let's start getting into it because that's how it is. More onto the thing. But you can start to get into the deeper structure of reality when you start to talk about that things, and then at that point you're starting to talk about divine intelligence that supersedes. So I promised you I would talk about deathmatch wrestling within the framework of religion. So
I really appreciate that too, man. So, and you also did something else that night, which is I have to note. You had the railroad spike on you. Is that
spikes
that railroad
versus
spike?
skewers.
What was that?
Spikes versus skewers. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't bring the railroad spikes with me. They got them for me. So
Okay. Well, the announcer said at the time, he was like, "What the fuck is with all these Michigan guys with the spikes in their boot?" He was just like, "If you're wrestling anybody from Michigan, just look out because they got a fucking spike on them somewhere." I write a comic book, and that's one of the things. It's about a deathmatch superhero, and he carries around a railroad spike and jabs people up. You know what I mean? But
Yeah, man.
that was another highlight of my night.
Sabu did it. He's another Michigan guy that did it. I actually stole the spike from Kevin Sullivan. And when I say I stole the spike from Kevin Sullivan, I mean, like, literally, I was like 19 years old, and I was working for Eddie Farhat Jr., God rest his soul, who's the Sheik's son, Sabu's cousin. And he screwed me on pay or something, and so I started grabbing some stuff around the locker room. And Kevin Sullivan's spike was sitting there, and this seems like a 36-cent thing I can steal in my petulant adolescence. So
Wow, what a souvenir to have!
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that one, but then I started carrying a spike in my boot, and here we are.
Fuck yeah, man, so cool. Again, I want to discuss something else too, but Francis, this story is a little bit gnar, okay?
Okay.
So no, I'm going to tell like something on the side that is a little rough. I told my wife I was going to tell it, and she was like, "I don't know if you should do that or not." But I'm going to fucking do it anyway, okay?
Oh.
So
Thanks for coming, Jimmy. I don't know where this is going.
So we went to a XICW show at the Temple in Detroit, and you were at that show. And you took a photo with me. Here it is. Oh, can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome Carnival of Carnage shirt, Dave. But at that show, there was a cage match. And during the cage match, you got, I think, zip tied to the outside of the cage. Do you recall that?
I remember we did like maybe like a 5-on-5, some sort
Yes.
of war games type thing. I remember that. I don't remember the zip ties particularly.
Is this that cage match that we keep bringing up?
Yes.
Oh my God, this match was awesome.
Yeah. DBA and Malcolm Monroe Jr., they had a long-standing feud, and they were having a match, and it spilled outside of the ring, and somebody from their family was like, "You're breaking up the family," and just like trying to like hold them two back, and just such drama. But you were zip tied to the cage, and you kept on saying, you're like, "Does anybody have scissors or a knife or something?" And I have a knife that I carry on me all the time because I got into a fight with my brother at a family event, and my brother tried to lunge at me, and I pulled the knife that I always carry and said in front of my family, if you come near me, I'm going to stab you up. Don't come near me. So I had the knife on me. It's not cool to bring a knife into a wrestling show, but I always have the knife on me because I've been attacked so many times. You know what I'm saying? So when you were like, does anybody have a knife to cut me out of the zip tie? I had a knife. I just wasn't sure if I should hand it over to you because I know it wasn't cool. Like security was like, you don't have anything on you, right? And I was like, no. And I just slid right in. You know what I'm saying? Just looking out for myself. But I wasn't sure if I should give you the knife or not. And I opted to not give you the knife. So I'm sorry.
And I remained zip tied there and got beaten up.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Dave. God, I didn't know this story was going. I would have handed you the knife. I would have cut you loose, Jimmy.
And to end the story, I never ended up stabbing my brother, but the threat's there. So, and I've already said it on camera, so I'm probably not going to stab him
or be allowed into any future wrestling events. So, thanks, Dave.
They're going to be like, you just admitted you have a knife on you all the time. What the fuck, man? So Francis, I'll stop for a second and I'll let you get some stats in if you want.
No, I'm always fascinated, Jimmy, by like a lot of the career, and your career is extensive as anyone's that we've ever had, right? You've wrestled in England. You've wrestled in almost every promotion in the States, right? There's two big points I want to get to. You've wrestled at the Gathering. I always ask everyone that wrestled at the Gathering, how was that? So how was that?
Oh, I mean, there's been different experiences. You know, it got a little better in the latter years that I did it. But you know, you look back, look, 2007 I think was the first one I did. And I was just coming off knee surgery, ACL surgery. I took 3.5 months off, man.
God damn, seriously.
It was just, you know, probably really stupid.
Because that's usually like a 9-month injury, right?
That's what people are doing now. It's like I did 3.5 months. I'm fine. I mean, the graft retore a couple years later, but whatever. But they had sort of wanted me to come in, and they had initially pitched me to do a tag match with Great Muta. And so I was like, Jesus, you know, I'm supposed to take 4 to 6 months off. This is like 3.5. But if I'm going to be in there with Great Muta, I'll do it. And then it got changed because things always change. But they had me versus Ultimo Dragon, which I was, it's like, you know, when you're 23, it's like, oh, that's cool, Ultimo Dragon. It wasn't very cool. But, you know, you go back and watch the video and just, you know, people are just like throwing stuff left and right. You can't do anything. Like, by the time I got in the ring, there's Cheez-Its and like some sort of like pig meat and of course Faygo and all this sort of stuff. And the whole match, I mean, it's a 7-minute match, and it's just like me running the ropes with like trying to like cover my head to not get pelted with something from behind. And so I didn't really thrive in that environment. Some of the wrestlers did. I remember like 1 year with Mabel. What was Mabel's name? Later on,
Midian.
No. From Men on a Mission. Mabel. Viscera.
Viscera, there you go. Yeah.
I remember a shot of him just like standing in the ring, just like this, as people are pelting him with stuff. He didn't care. I wrestled Ken Shamrock there in 2009 with Dan Severn as the special guest referee, but Dan was under a hood, and he was going to reveal who the referee was afterwards. Right, that was the gimmick, and they're going to set up for Shamrock and Severn the following year, which never happened. So me and Ken, look, we call like a 6-minute match or something. It wasn't going to be particularly long, but it wasn't, you know, a 6-minute match. And so we get out there, like, you know, something hits me, I take a powder, I'm on the outside of the ring, and we're just getting pelted with stuff, and I'm getting pelted with stuff. Like I'm standing by, you know, on the outside of the ring, and people are just like dumping Faygo right on top of me. And like Ken's supposed to come and get me. He's supposed to come to the outside of the ring. We're supposed to do a little something, chase, something, whatever it is. And so I'm just getting pelted with shit, and I hop up in the apron, and I go to Dan. I'm like, hey, Dan, tell him to come out and get me. And Dan goes, he wants to go home. And I go, great. And we go in the ring, duck, something, belly to belly, ankle lock. I mean, it was 30 seconds of action because that's how some of the guys were. Some of the guys didn't want to stand there and just get shit pelted at them while they work. And fair enough, I didn't particularly want to either. But they cut down on that in the later years, by what did I do? I remember I certainly did it in 2014. I remember that. But yeah, and it was better then. It was bearable. Some of those years it was unbearable. Yeah.
It's those early years that that's where all the horror stories, because I always wanted to go to Gathering, but I don't like camping. I like things like showers. And I can't survive off carnival food. It's the basic things in life. But I do see it as getting better, especially with the way they promote the JCW event at the gatherings. So I always ask anyone we speak to that's been there, I always ask how it was. And the stories
it's an experience. If you're a pro wrestler, it's you gotta wrestle at the Gathering. It's on the bucket list of things. No, I haven't done WrestleMania, but the Gathering, check.
Oh man, that's so amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's you've done. You've spent time in IWA Mid-South, which we've heard tons of stories about. And we just spoke to Schwartzy, who said, a lot of great people came out of IWA Mid-South, out of the shit that was IWA Mid-South. And, you're amongst that group, right? The Chris Heroes, the Jimmy Jakes, the CM Punks. And, how was your time down, with them down there in IWA Mid-South?
Stuff at IWA is up and down, but you gotta remember, man, some of that stuff, when you look at some of these 2004 TPI, and the main event is something like AJ Styles and Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson or something. It's something like that.
Yeah.
And the crowd just going nuts. I mean, there was some really good stuff in IWA over various years. The thing with Ian is he just ran a lot though. When I started working for him, at the end of 2002, he was running every week. Before that, he was running twice a week. 2001 and I think at some point in 2002, he was doing twice a week. So look, you're not going to get gold all the time, but I credit Ian a lot. Look, if it wasn't for IW Mid-South and the opportunity that Ian gave me and Alex Shelley, he and I basically started there together, and Ian sort of paired us up against each other, and it was that then led to Ring of Honor and CZW and whatever. So it's that is directly responsible for then our Shelley and I came into Ring of Honor together, and then my whole run there, which then led to WWE, which led to Impact Wrestling. I mean, it led to my whole career. And Ian was the first promoter to kind of take time and not just see something in me, but take time to help coach, I guess you could say, or mentor in some ways. And he did that, and up until time stopped running, was still doing that with all these younger guys. So look, I mean, for as many, if you want to call them horror stories or the downside of IWA, for as much as that is, almost anybody who's anybody had, went through there, and Ian Rotten, the wrestling business would look a lot different if it weren't for Ian Rotten.
Wow.
I agree. And
I have to say I agree too.
Yeah, I've said it before. I just, you hear so many different things. So again, just like the Gathering, I always ask about it, right? Because everybody seems to have a different opinion or a different experience in it. I know Dave probably got a ton more wrestling stuff. I want to get into the podcast, the Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know podcast. I want to talk. You're very candid and open about your addiction, so I definitely want to get into that. But I know Dave had a lot of stuff. So
no, I mean, I just, my stuff is geeky stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can get to that, and then we'll get to all the other stuff eventually. So I mean, I actually was not aware that you do a podcast.
I did one back for about 9 months back in 2019. I tried my hand on it, and I keep telling myself I need to start again. But it was a bit difficult because it wasn't about wrestling at all.
Yeah.
It's I've spent a lot of time in the wrestling business, over 23 years now, and I have deeper fascinations. It's funny. You go, oh, we don't talk about religion or politics. I'm like, that's the only stuff I do want to talk about. Well, not really politics, because a political, level of analysis isn't the proper level of analysis for almost anything here. It's all sort of personal and let's say, psycho-spiritual even.
Right.
People's journeys through this reality. It's like if you don't stop for a second and just go, wait a minute. Where are we? What are we doing here? Who am I? How did I get here? And I think it's a sort of easy response to go, well, I don't know and I don't care, and or just go, oh, the scientists figured it out. 14 billion years ago, something exploded or nothing exploded into something, and through a bunch of chemical reactions, all of a sudden we're here and we're in the sort of deterministic universe, and who cares? And when you die, that's it, and it's all. Yeah, I don't know about that. Like, if there's, let's say, a point to life, it's like, shouldn't we be asking what it is? Like, shouldn't we just go, what are we doing here? Are we supposed to be doing something here? Am I supposed to be doing something here? And these are fun things to pontificate on.
Well, I know for us, and we have that because we avoid a lot of the decisive the division and that stuff. But I definitely agree with you, like in a sense of that, like there is a clear division on spirituality and religion, right? And I think being spiritual and like open and willing to like, because there's stuff that happens that you can't explain. There's all that stuff, and so that's what always kind of like
us being here at all. You can't explain. It's like, how do we get here? I don't know. Nothing exploded into something. It's like maybe.
I had a coworker tell me something once that like blew my mind. They said, "I am happy to have been alive at the same time as you," and that fucked my day up because I was like, wow, like when you really think about that, we're only here for a certain period of time, and then you share that time with other people, right? And for someone to say, I'm happy to have been alive at the same time as you, like really makes you sit back and just say, holy fuck, like,
Jimmy, so you're from Michigan, right? You grew up in Lansing?
In Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, okay. So you know that Michigan is kind of known for having, for lack of a better word, for doing satanic rap music. Are you aware of that?
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, Michigan is kind of known for that, or just basically horror movie rap music. So I grew up listening to that, and my dad, he had a cancer scare and started immediately thinking that I was a devil worshiper. You know what I mean? And I mean, I was, angry teenager, painting my nails black, long black hair, reeking like weed all the time. You know what I mean? I kind of just shunned anything spiritual, and everybody always says you're kind of doomed to become your father. So, here I am in my 40s and feeling spiritual, and, it was nice and fun. Teenage, how's the Nirvana lyric go? Teenage angst is paid off well. Now I'm bored and old. I literally feel everything that my dad said. He told me you're going to see someday. And I did, and I do. And it's weird,
Well, we all have a spiritual or religious, whatever you want to call it, inclination. And what I mean by that is you serve something, right? You have a hierarchy of values in which you are subservient to. And it might just be like survival, but it's not quite just survival necessarily. It's survival, and maybe it's pleasure, and maybe for you it's money, but money sort of represents safety, and all these it's a hierarchy of values, things you would do for certain reasons before other things. And so you're serving something. And the question becomes, it's like, what's the proper thing to serve? Is it money? Well, if you climb up that ladder, you start to figure out that you'll come up short. And like, is it success? But you climb that ladder and you start to go, oh, that comes up short. So there's a way of being. There's a value structure that if you live in alignment with it, it doesn't come up short. It's the highest value on the hierarchy of values. And that's one way to think of when people talk about God, that's one, at least component, one way to think of it. It's like, what should I be serving? How should I be acting? What should dictate my behavior? Should I live out of fear? Should I live out of scarcity? Should I go, well, I need to make sure I have enough and I need to make sure I'm taken care of? Or is there some sort of amalgamation of take care of myself, take care of my others, take care of the environment, take care of the place I'm in, while feeding myself and giving to others, or reciprocity of giving and receiving? Like, there's a way of being that's actually the best way of being, and there is. I used to be nihilistic. I used to think nothing matters, but it's like try to live that thought out. Try to live out the idea that nothing matters. You go, well, right. Something matters to you. You're going to get up and pee. When you're hungry, you're going to eat. So, and I didn't decide that. That was built into the structure of my being. And so you go, okay, so there actually is a built-in hierarchy of values, even just as a human animal. So yeah, and so to me, that's part of the journey, is to go, when am I putting the wrong things in front of what should be prioritized? When am I not, let's say, acting out of love? When am I acting out of fear or scarcity? Or well, I'm too. This was WWE, right? I was too scared to quit. I was too scared to quit. I would have never quit. I would have stayed there for another 10 years and been miserable. Thank God I got fired. It was such a blessing. But I was too scared to quit. And you go, oh, okay. I see that acting out of fear of what happens next, or fear of the unknown, isn't the proper way of being. Actually, that's how we operate, right? Every moment is really unknown. That's a perpetual pattern of reality. So, I mean, these are, I won't go on forever because I could. No. But these are the things that I'm really starting to, ponder and think about and read about more and more. What is moral? Is moral just relative? It's like, well, no. There's a way of being that creates less suffering over here, and there's a ways of being that creates more suffering. Is this equal to that? It's like, well, what do you mean by equal? There's all these different components to it, and so that's what's going on now.
I mentioned when I was a teenager, everybody starts off one place and then they obviously end up somewhere completely different. It's rarely somebody that just stays the same all through life. I don't see how anybody could stay the same, because things happen to you.
Nothing does stay the same.
So when you were a teenager, well, I guess I'll get to this point in a second, but how old were you when you discovered wrestling?
I saw my first memory of wrestling was probably like 89. It was Mr. Perfect shooting a perfect game of pool. That's my first.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh my God. So when the bug hit you, how old were you? Will you place that for me? You're a little bit younger than me.
I was in 89. I was 5. So like, you're talking about, like, by the time I'm 7, I'm like wrestling. Certainly.
Okay. So you were a teenager through like all of like the Attitude Era, right?
Right, and that's when I got in the wrestling business too, when I was a teenager.
Were you a jaded teenager? Did you do the whole goth thing, or
No. I mean, I was a teenager who loved pro wrestling, and my brother, he wanted to be a pro wrestler. I got into wrestling because he liked wrestling. He's my older brother, so I like what he liked. What he likes is cool, and so he wanted to be a pro wrestler. He found a local school back in like 98, and he started training. He was like 17, 18 at the time. And I just followed him around. I just I had a video camera. I would record these shows. I would, sell these tapes online. I would set up rings. I would play the music, I'd do that. Whatever. I would make like really bad websites for the wrestlers, just like whatever to be involved. And
were they Angel Fire websites?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
98.99. Yeah, man. It's either Angel Fire or GeoCities, and
Yeah.
Angel Fire is better. So yeah, and then at some point, one of the referees for one of the shows, he couldn't make a show, and I was like, oh, I can do it, and so they put me in there, and I just slowly started training a little bit, and so that was my entire identity was wrapped up into the idea of being a pro wrestler. That was it, for almost all my life.
Wow. So I mean, you can hear it when you talk. I'm sorry, I'm at kind of like a loss for words, but I mean, you're extremely well spoken. I consider you to be one of the best minds in pro wrestling. I was gonna ask you about the whole WWE thing. Not so much you leaving, but the whole process, because everybody always puts WWE on such a pedestal that that they want to get there, and then it's like when you attain that person that seems unattainable, then you get them, and it's kind of you start losing interest or losing appreciation for what you have. Does that make sense?
Of course. I mean that's like an entire pattern people play out when they externalize fulfillment, basically. When they go, oh well, maybe this will make me happy here if I just grab this. And I just think about the absurdity of it, the idea that, oh, if I just get a W contract. It's like, yeah, you get a W contract, you're happy for like a second. And then you go, oh, I just want to be on NXT TV. And then you're happy for like 2 seconds. And you go, oh, I just want to be on Raw. And then you're happy for like 3 seconds. And then you're miserable for like a whole long time. And then I just want to be champion. You win this title, you win that title. I just want to be the main event. You do that. And all the while, it's just like you're just grasping for air, and it keeps going through your fingers. And you go, well, what is it then? It can't be the money. It can't be the success. It can't be the thing that I think it is. So that was my realization when I went to rehab back in 2017. I was like, how am I here? How is what I thought so wrong that I ended up in rehab? Like, when you made the wrong decisions, man. Like, the way you were prioritizing your life is wrong. The idea of, following my dream is the highest goal. It's like, that's not the highest goal. It's like, well, what is? What's the highest thing to aim for? And I had to really do away with all my preconceived notions that I knew anything. And that's what the podcast was about. Jimmy Jacobs Doesn't Know. It was this moment in time where I go, I don't know anything. I have to start operating under that thing, because what I thought I know led me here. So maybe I know nothing. And it was through that acceptance of ignorance that I was able to deconstruct what I thought was going on and start to reconstruct a better map of reality, which doesn't have as much pain and suffering. If you if you have a proper map of the terrain that you're on, you're less likely to walk off a cliff accidentally.
Are you able to appreciate wrestling, having been through everything? I mean, because and I don't mean this in the way that it's going to sound, but I mean, you made it all the way up to WWE, and it's not like you're taking a step back at all by being an Impact, because I fucking love Impact. It's just the WWE machine is just nonstop. It never stops. It will never stop. Are you able to appreciate not, being on TV and being behind the scenes? Like, I mean, do you generally? What am I trying to ask? Do you like being behind the scenes?
Yeah, look, I think I have more. I do sometimes misperforming. I still perform sometimes. I'll be at WrestlePro in New Jersey on September 9th. But I don't wrestle a ton, and I don't miss wrestling them. I do miss performing sometimes. I liked being on Impact TV managing Congo Kong. Like, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Like, if like a managerial role came up again, I would definitely do it. But I certainly have more utility behind the scenes. I have a certain set of skills and an aptitude that not a lot of people have. I say that with humility, but I just do. So
there is something that you said. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, go ahead.
That I really like hooked onto, right? The chasing the next thing, right? You mentioned getting the contract. All right, a second, this and that. Being behind the scenes, you see that. Do you still see you obviously see workers coming through, and you see them chasing that, right? Do you ever sit back and say, you know what? No, they have to experience this on their own, or do you kind of like step in and say, hey, talk to some of these because you've been there for so long, you kind of see where this road could end, or do you just allow someone to go on that journey and experience it themselves?
Well, we all have to experience things, for ourselves, more or less. You can put a whisper in somebody's ear, but it's their experience to have. And there's nothing inherently wrong with goal setting and forward movement, because we experience reality through forward movement. But it's something like a balance between gratitude for the now with desire for growth. Like that's like the proper balance. So if you're putting all your eggs in one of those baskets and not balanced somehow with the other, you're going to find a lack of fulfillment. The human brain is actually it's made to have a your positive emotion reward system through achievement. That's partly where it lies, right? So if you just sit here and do nothing, you're going to lack positive emotions, more or less. Not necessarily, but your human animal isn't particularly going to like it. But if you put all your eggs in the basket of, if I just grab this over here, then I'll be fine. Well, you're always going to come up short there. So it's a gratitude for the now with a desire for moving forward and an aim moving forward and growth moving forward. It's the two together.
Wow.
Yeah, no, this is. I mean, I'm fascinated by it. I know, like, for us in time and stuff, it's like it's coming. We're getting there towards that, and we're coming up on that last 10, 12 minutes. But no, I'm this type of, because we talked about growth and just people growing and stuff, and the person I am now is not the person I was 5 years ago. The person I am now is not the person Dave met, all those years ago, right? And you learn from a lot of those experiences and you grow, right? And it's not easy, and right. And I'm 36. I just turned 36 last week. I hit 30, right, 6 years ago, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my life, right? And it was confusing and it was scary. So it was like, that's why I asked about the podcast, right? Because from what I did listen, it was that kind of curious, like, journey through things and talking to a lot of your friends. And like, I enjoy those types of conversations. So like, I want to encourage you, right? Even just me just sitting in my bedroom, get it going again, man. Like, it's so fun, right? It's that curiosity, that journey, right? That's why we do this.
Yeah.
We have a passion for wrestling, and we want to talk to the people that bring us joy and just know more. So that's why we ask people, hey, come on, let's talk, right? Because we want to know more, right? Whether it be about your experience at the gathering, right? Whether it be like what you ate, what's your favorite comic, we had these conversations because we want to know, right? So as a new fan of your 2-year-old podcast, I want you to come back because I want to hear new conversations, because it sounds like you have a lot more to go, and that isn't in a negative. That's just like in that constant growth that you talked about, right? I think you have so much more to get from people, and just conversating with you in this last 30 minutes, I feel like I've gotten more out of it, like as my own personal journey goes. So,
Jimmy, before we
I appreciate that, man. That's very gracious of you to say, and it will probably be something I do again, but I appreciate the encouragement.
Before we move on to some of our closing segments, just out of curiosity, when you're not involved in the wrestling world, what do you do with your spare time? I mean, like, how do you relax?
Well, I just bought a 7-acre property in rural Georgia, so yeah, I'm trying my hand on, gardening and whatever I can out here, and I don't know anything about it. But I just answered the call to adventure, and here I am. So I'm trying to learn my first. I just moved here like 2 months ago. My first attempt at my seedlings all died like right away.
Right.
But that's what I'm doing now. I also have a ukulele. I play a lot too. I sit around and play ukulele a bunch, and I read and I watch videos of different things, and I'm trying to figure out rural life here in Georgia.
What are you reading at the moment?
Well, I've got on my nightstand. I was going between A Brave New World and Aldous Huxley's like sort of like not post-apocalyptic, like dystopian future where everybody's just sort of knocked out, and which is different than 1984, which it's a lot of force. This is the reality we live in now is somewhere in between 1984 and Brave New World.
Very much so.
Yeah, it is, right. That and a book called The Body Keeps Score, which is really about your nervous system and how trauma early on in life is stored in your nervous system. So you can feel it if when you're scared of something or someone says something you don't like, and your body tenses up. And I'm starting to learn to let go of some of this sort of stored tension in my body, and starting to notice it more. So there's that book. But then I just got Joseph Campbell's Hero with a Thousand Faces, Heroes of a Thousand Faces, Hero of a Thousand Faces. Joseph Campbell, 20th century. I was going to say philosopher, but his claim to fame is basically pointing out, rightfully or wrongfully, I think people have their views on it, but certainly his ideas are widespread enough. But pointing out the idea that there's a framework for a hero's journey, right? And all these different stories. There is a call to adventure, and you go out into the world, and then you go down into the abyss, and you have to fight the dragon and get the gold, and then come back on the other side and share your treasures with the villagers, basically. And that's the hero's journey, more or less. And all these different religions and popular stories throughout time sort of show this framework. And this framework, it's not made up, right? This is something more archetypical. It exists within the consciousness of humanity itself, and it illustrates, to a little bit of what I was saying earlier, it illustrates a proper way of being. When people think that they're, I'm going to talk about politics just real quick, right?
Do it. It's all good, man.
Because I'll probably offend everybody here.
It's all good.
When people think there's a problem and that they can vote their way out of the problem, you go, that's not the right story. Like, they don't make stories, they don't make movies, they don't write books about there's a problem, someone else will take care of it. That's not how it goes. That's not the proper way of being. The proper way of being is you're here, and then call to adventure or catastrophe strikes or whatever the case is, and you have to go and be more than what you were, or learn to be more than what you were, and confront this thing head on. And in that, there's a death process where all the child parts of you sort of go away, these things that you were holding on to that kept you in a state of stunted adolescence, and you grow into be the hero, the person that turns catastrophe into order, that turns everything back to sort of how it should be, and to the right way. And that hero's journey illustrates that way of being, and that's really a bit of what Joseph Campbell is known for talking about. And it's important, I think, to see that in your life, to always remember in your life you're supposed to be the hero in the story. And if you don't have that sort of mindset, if you don't if that doesn't even consider you, if it's a bunch of finger pointing going, oh, you know what the problem? That guy over there is the problem. That guy over there is the problem. That guy over there. And boy, they should do something about it. And this guy should do something about it. Why don't they do this? It's like, if you think it's a problem, that problem is calling you. And it's up to you to go and leave your little village, to leave your little comfort zone and travel into the zone of discomfort. Because it's in the zone of discomfort where growth happens. And, that's the proper way of being. Be the hero in the story. All of us. It's like we have to. It's like we all have to. I know it. I don't wanna. You think I wanna? I don't wanna. Like, I just want to kind of hang out by myself here and learn to garden and shit. But it's like, you gotta, I've come to the conclusion that it's all of our individual moral obligations to attempt to be the best we can be in all aspects. Because as we fall short, as we disregard that call, the world suffers because of it. The world is worse when we're worse. When I started doing better in my life around 5 years ago, my world, the people around me, it lifted them up. And so it's like we have this obligation, in a manner of speaking, we have an obligation to at least attempt, at least think about being all we can be. Not even just for us, although for us, you get the reward, you get the gold, you do. But for the entire freaking world, it's the only way it works. It can't work any other way. Like, peace on earth can't be dictated through force. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can't be dictated through tyranny. It involves every single person understanding what's right and wrong. How should I be? What's at the top of the hierarchy of values? What should I be aiming for? And this is why I have at least a compassion for religion, although it can easily get distorted, is that there's an understanding that there is an ideal to strive for. And it's up to the individual to strive to that ideal.
Jimmy, holy shit, man. I was completely not expecting you to be such I mean, you're such a spiritual dude. I'm impressed by it. It's taken me a really long time to just get even a little bit of what you have. You know what I mean? Just because I fought it off for so long. Younger me said, I don't need religion. I'm just fine without it. I don't need spirituality. I'm fine without it. And that's not the case at all. I got to be like 35 and I was like, something's missing. You know what I mean? And I think everybody eventually gets to that point.
And you can't just get rid of it. So the point I was trying to make earlier, you can't just get rid of it. Something else will take its place. There will be something less ideal than the ideal that you're working for. I'm not saying the Christians have exactly like the proper framework or the exact proper sort of value structure, but they've got a pretty all right one, although again, it can get distorted. But you take, this was Nietzsche, right? It's like, God is dead. We've killed him. And it's not a good thing, right? It was more, he forecasted that nihilism and totalitarianism would take over in the 20th century. And it did, because something has to fill that void. You can't just go, well, so for the atheist, now you put, let's say, science up at the top. You go, I trust science. And by science, actually, you mean what some people said. That's really what you mean, because you probably don't actually know what that's about. But you put that there and you go, that's what I'm following. That's what I'm becoming subservient to. Right. So it's something. You don't get to go, well, it's nothing. There's nothing, there's nothing I'm holding above me. It's like, no, you're holding something above you. And you better figure out what it is, lest you go and just wreak havoc on the world. And, we all do that in our unconscious. We all unconsciously put things wrongfully placed in a hierarchy of values, and it does damage. So this is, I have the luxury of the self-introspection, but I think that everybody needs to take the time to consider these things. A careless world is a chaotic world.
Wow. Holy shit, Jimmy, this has been completely not what I expected it to be, and in the best way possible. I don't want to monopolize too much more of your time, but we do have 2 segments that we always do at the very end of our show. Francis, do you want to kick into these?
Let's do this.
So, Jimmy, Francis and I started hanging out watching hardcore wrestling, which eventually turned into deathmatch wrestling. And it was an excuse for us to, that and tacos, right?
Yeah, tacos
And
burgers.
Going to Insane Clown Posse shows.
Burgers. It was a lot of fast food.
Yeah, right. So it's something that we love, the blood and guts, but also the stories and being invested in it. We always talk about, and we're coming to the end of this segment. We've been doing this for close to 20 something episodes, and we're going to eventually get something new. But we talk the Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestling. Okay. Some people refer to it, and I had just been hyping this up a little bit, but some people talk about deathmatch wrestling and they talk about hardcore. Like we had Madman Pondo on, and he wanted to bring up Bruiser Brody because in what he said was you couldn't have gotten to ECW, you couldn't have gotten to CZW and to modern day deathmatch without somebody like Bruiser Brody brawling. We've had some people, they come on and they cannot get past Sabu and Terry Funk, And then we have other people that come on and they only want to talk about the modern day, like Nick Gage, Matt Tremont. But I want to ask to you, can only be 4. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of deathmatch wrestling?
Boy, that's a tough one. I used to see enough of it working at IW Mid-South. But, I haven't seen I don't know if I've seen Matt Tremont wrestle. Right?
Okay.
Yeah. So there's some of the newer stuff because Matt
I
came in.
absolutely understand that. Matt
came in sort of a few years after it became popular. Sort of a few years after I did. I think I got to mention Mick Foley, right? I do. Mick's the best. Nick Gage is another one that I thought of. I just love Nick Gage, man. I wrestled him in it was like the day before my birthday back in 2018. So I was turning 34, and we had one with light tubes and glass or something. And I didn't want to, but it's it was one of those things what else am I doing today? This seems to be the thing. They were doing death matches before us, and so I'm there's glass in the ring anyway.
But can I ask you just sidetracking really quick, because I don't know that we've actually had anybody that's been in the ring with Nick Gage.
We
Francis.
have.
We have?
I think.
I don't know about that.
Chuck.
Oh, okay.
But no, not very many people. No.
Yeah. Was it an easy time? It can't have been an easy night.
Nick's great, man. That's to me, that's what a professional is, right? A professional is someone that walks in there and people think they're going to get an ass kicking, and, the audience thinks they're going to see somebody get their ass kicked, and they watch it. They think they're watching somebody get their ass kicked, and afterwards they thought they watched somebody get their ass kicked, but the guy didn't get their ass kicked. And Nick's a fucking professional. So, he's great, man. He walked in there and that whole building just he was the freaking king. And, people thought he kicked my ass, and, we go through this whole match, right? There's this whole match, and there's light glass on the. We did a fun gimmick. At the beginning of the match, I do a deal where I act like I don't want to do this because there's still glass in the ring, which is kind of true. So it's hey, let's just do it like that. We'll make it seem like I don't fucking do this shit. Somebody needs to come and sweep this up. I'm not doing this. I'm a professional. I just got a 6-figure job with WWE wearing a suit. I'm not doing this glass shit. and then just starts to devolve and whatever. And so we have this whole match, put him through a bunch of glass. He puts me through some, I think, and all fine. And then at the end, like I'm kind of like throwing a temper tantrum, right? Like outside the ring. This is bullshit, Nick. You're bullshit. And I hit the curtain. And then the curtain falls down, brings the rod down with it, busts me in the eye, and like slashes my eyebrow open. Do a whole death match with Nick Gage, and I'm fine. And at the end, fucking
Awesome.
hard ways me. So Nick's great. Love Nick. The name that first came into my mind though was the Necro Butcher. Necro. Fuck, man, 2005, like Necro was just on a freaking different level, man. He had a different charisma about him. And it was like anybody versus Necro became a dream match. Low-Ki versus Necro and Samoa Joe and Necro, dude, in the ECW arena. That was like I was there for Joe and Kabashi, and I was there for Joe and Necro Butcher, man. And both those were electric in that room. Necro Butcher was a real special performer, at that time, certainly.
I've been trying to reach out to Necro to have him come on here. I have no idea how to get a hold of the man. I've reached out to him on Facebook, and it's just nothing.
He's a hard guy to track down these days.
If he probably wants it that way.
Yeah.
So those are three. I don't, I'm sure there's somebody in that like IWA Mid-South crew. I mean, I used to see some of that stuff. I'm sure there's someone in that crew. Some of these guys are the Sabus and they're all, dude. Sabu's awesome. Fuck, he's so great. Terry Funk.
Terry Funk. Nobody can ever get past Terry Funk. Terry Funk's been on I would say probably 80% of everybody's list. I think that's
Mick Foley and Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. That was the first death match I saw, and then I was 13. And I got the RF video VHS of Sab. These things are like $30. This is like 25 years ago. $30 for one show, and so it's like you don't have money when you're 13, going through that fucking catalog, and you go, I gotta pick one. I gotta just pick one video, and the one video I picked, Born to Be Wired. Sabu, Terry Funk, barbed wire match, man. That was fucking sick. That was a sick match.
Is that the one where Sabu cuts his bicep and he's taping it up when Terry Funk gives him a fucking neck breaker? He's actually taping it up and still takes the neck breaker.
Dude, I fucking love Sabu. I'll put Sabu on there.
Fucking Sabu.
I don't know if he's exactly a deathmatch wrestler. Yeah, he is. He's a deathmatch wrestler.
Oh, fuck
Sabu.
yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
I showed Dave a match last week of
I was just gonna bring that up, dude.
Of Sabu in Japan with the flaming the fire ring, the fucking ring was on fire and Sabu was trying to put it out. Like,
when the fire gets out of control, when it just it's really going. Yeah, man.
Sabu looks legitimately freaked out trying to put it out, but I mean, it was like. The fucking ring was burning down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, go fuck yourself if you don't think Sabu's a deathmatch guy.
Sabu was a deathmatch guy, big time.
Yeah, Sabu is a fucking legend, man. Yeah,
Jimmy, that was fucking fantastic. Which leads us to our very last segment, Francis.
Last bit, we ask everybody this, and everybody's answer is different, and I expect yours to be probably one of the best ones we hear. So you got in the business about 98, 99, right? You said about the attitude era rather. If you can go back to the day of your very first match and give yourself one bit of advice, what would it be?
Have fun. That's it.
Really?
Just that's the, if I have any regret in my career, and there's some like, oh man, I never got that WWE run and whatever. But I mean, really, the one regret is I just didn't enjoy it more when it was happening. Like when these different things were happening, you get so wrapped up into success or what's next and all sorts of things. You go, dude, this is awesome what we're doing. someone's paying us to go out here and perform, and this should be a good time. And it's, it's probably true to life too. That's probably the advice I should give myself right now. It's just like, have more fun. This shit's gonna be gone. This shit you care about right now that seems so important will seem so insignificant you can't even remember it someday. So that's my advice to fundamentally to most people in the wrestling business. It's just like, hey man, just fucking enjoy it. But yeah.
Wow. Jimmy, holy shit, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It was an honor. I can't say it enough how much of a fan I am of your work. I love everything that Impact is doing right now, and I encourage anybody and everybody to check out the product. It's so good. Week to week,
Thank you.
the literal best.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We put a lot of work into it, which I'm going to do as soon as I'm off with you guys. I'm going to go back into the lab and continue creating. So,
where can everyone find you? Where can people find you and be up to date on when the podcast comes back?
Currently, I still have an Instagram. It's Jimmy Jacobs X. I don't update like anything, so whatever. But if you go to jimmyjacobs.com, whatever you need from me will be there. So I mean, it hasn't been updated in years, but like, email address and contact and all that stuff.
I would personally like to see some of the gardening photos. I would want to know how that's coming along.
As soon as I get something that's good enough to show, I'll show it.
Man. Well, that's really it. Jimmy Jacobs, the Zombie Princess. Goddamn. Thank you for hanging out with us, man. This has been such a great episode. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
So, Jimmy, just hang tight for 1 second, okay? And other than that, that's it. Peace.